I made this little man not long ago out of Play-Doh. He's not much to look at, but I like him. Although I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do with him. I might just stick him here for the time being, just to kind of remind me of what I'm doing. Or I might just throw him away later. I'm not sure. But whatever I do with him, it's pretty much up to me. I made him, he belongs to me. Whether he continues to exist or not is up to me. What purposes he serves, well, that's my decision, not his, which is just as well, because he's really not up to making decisions. But the thing is, he's my little creature, which I made for a particular purpose to use in this video. If we gain nothing else from reading Genesis 1 and 2 and from the other passages we've looked at in this seminar, at the very least we learn that we are God's creatures. In our case, animate, thinking, willing, living, breathing creatures, but creatures all the same. We're not self-generated, nor do we simply pop into existence by chance. We are the creation of the God who made all things and who rules all things. In the words of Genesis 2, God fashioned us out of the dust of the earth and breathed life into our nostrils. He is the potter, we are the clay. What's more, the God who brought us into existence is a rational, purposeful, intentional God. He doesn't make us for no reason. He works very intentionally. And we see that clearly in Genesis 1, where God very deliberately creates every part of the world in order and fills it with creatures, culminating in the creation of humanity. And God gives humanity a particular role to be fruitful and multiply, to fill the earth and subdue it, to have dominion over all other living things. The God who made us is a purposeful, intentional God. And you no doubt also saw this in the various other passages you looked up. God has plans and intentions for his world, and he sees them through. God continues to rule and govern our world, to be completely in charge of its daily operation, to pursue his purposes within it. He didn't wind up our world like a clock and just set it running and go off and get on with something else he had in mind. God continues to be the sovereign, mighty ruler of every aspect of our world, including us, his creatures. No purpose of this God can be thwarted or frustrated, nor can it even be questioned. It's not our place as the clay to tell the potter what he should be doing with what he has made. Several implications flow from this. The first and most obvious is that we should honour and give thanks to this God who made us and owns us and rules us. He's worthy to receive glory and honour and power because he made all things, as Revelation 4:11 says. We need to recognise that God is God and we're not. Our lives are in his hands. We're dependent upon him for everything, including life and breath itself. But God, our Maker, not only determines that we exist, he also determines why we exist. As we think about the course of our lives, about what our lives are really for and where they're heading, this is a foundational truth. We don't determine the purpose and nature of our lives. God does. We don't get to write our own mission statement. It's simply not our right. Our reason for existing is not self-derived or self-determined. It comes from outside us. It comes from the God who made us and who has his own purposes and intentions for us. Well, what are those purposes and intentions? Well, so far we've only seen them in very broad outline. The first few pages of Genesis lay the foundations for understanding why God made humanity. He made us to live and multiply in his good world and to rule over the other living creatures in the world. But there's not much more to be said. The other 998 pages of the Bible build on the foundations of Genesis. And it's only when we get to Jesus and his place in God's great plans for the world that the whole picture really becomes clear. And we will come to this in the seminars in due course. But in the meantime, we need to pause and recognise just how much we hate the basic ideas that have come out in this seminar. Our lives are not our own to do with as we please. We are like clay in the hands of a potter. Our dreams and desires and wishes in life should all be subordinated to someone else, to God. Now, these ideas grate against everything we hold dear. 1,000 Disney movies have taught us that you should be free to follow your heart, that no one else can tell you what is important in your life, that you need to discover the truth within, that you need to find your dream and then follow it to the end of the rainbow. There are very few basic beliefs that everyone in Western society shares, but this is one of them. The absolute right to self-determination, to be able to decide the course of our own lives, to be who we want to be and not let anyone else tell us what we are or what we have to do. The prominence of this idea in our world, the pursuit of personal freedom and autonomy as the highest goal of life, has a very long history, and we don't have time to trace that history now. But it is in the air we breathe, the TV shows and movies we watch, the books we read, the education system we're raised in. Now, as Christians, we know there is something deeply wrong with this idea. We acknowledge that God really is God and that we should submit to his plans, not our own. But we often underestimate just how deeply and stubbornly we also believe in self-determination, in basically charting our own course in life. Doing things our own way and determining our own course in life comes very naturally to us. And this is revealed not only in how little thanks we give to God, our Creator, for everything he gives us, but also in how rarely we pause to consider his purposes and intentions for us as we make decisions about our lives. We would much prefer to be in the position of the potter rather than the clay. And this desire and its consequences, as we will see in our next seminar, are as old as humanity itself.